Alrighty, so let us actually jump straight into the review of these games because, as I said, I am actually going to do a review of all 14 games today. Although I'll split it into two videos because it will be just absolutely insane for me to do all 14 games in a single video. Because yesterday I actually did not do part one of the review because I was relatively busy. So let us actually jump straight into the first game, which is Atlanta United versus the New York Red Bulls. And Atlanta, they bounced back after that tough loss that they had against Columbus. Well, tough is an understatement. They got absolutely blown out of the door in that one against the Columbus Crew. And they also get their first win against the New York Red Bulls in the regular season. I mean, it's kind of crazy to say, but that is kind of true. Like, as I said in the season preview, the only wins that they had against the Red Bulls was in the postseason, but it's a very big one because they were able to win that first leg match 3-0, and eventually they were able to do enough in the second leg, despite losing that, to go on to the 2018 MLS Cup, which they won their first ever MLS Cup that year too. And in the first half, just 7 minutes into this game, they would ends up scoring what would be the winning goal of this game, as Giacomakis would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. But yeah, for Cornell, he would want that one back. I mean, just allow a juicy rebound right into the path of Giacomakis. And with the caliber of Carlos Cornell, you usually don't see him spill a ball or allow a juicy rebound like that. And that, yeah, it does allow Giacomakis to pounce on it to get the opening goal. And like I said, it turns out to be a costly moment for Cornell. Not just at that moment, but for the Red Bulls too, because that was the only goal that they conceded in this one. And then there was definitely some nervy moment inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium when they saw Guzan took a vicious tumble to the ground and he was down for a couple of minutes. And that, well, actually, I wouldn't say a couple of minutes. That's a little bit of a overstatement. I would say he was down for a bit, but fortunately he was able to return, and then he was able to deny Casters Jr. in the front post before Amaya would fire one just wide from long range. As I thought the Red Bulls, they responded well. They were pressing to trying to get the equalizer. It was a huge shout for a penalty that was not given for Atlanta in the 33rd minute, and we had to halftime with Atlanta holding on to the 1-0 lead that they got back in the 7th minute. In the second half, Van Zier would miss high from close range before we had some pushing and shoving between both of these teams. Again, just a reminder that these two teams, they do not like each other, and I know the rivalry between these two teams is not as hotly as what we saw back in 2018 and 2019. Like when these two team met during 2018 and 2019. Oh yeah, you can say that this was definitely one of the hot this rivalry we've seen in MLS, where both of these teams there was some pushing and shoving that's going on. I'll never forget the Kamar Lawrence and Leandro Gonzalez Perez moment that we had in this game. But again, ever since both of these teams haven't really been that good for the past couple of years, that rivalry has started to kind of simmer off. But definitely didn't look like it in the 54th minute when both of these teams were having some choice words against each other. And then Van Zier missed wide after he went through on goal there. Yeah, Dante Van Zier. I mean, besides that one good goal that he scored against Columbus, he's gonna live up to the expectation for the Red Bulls. In fact, I think this was actually his first game that he actually started, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken there because it's crazy the fact that Van Zier has not started a game despite the fact that this was supposed to be the keystone signing for the Red Bulls this season. Nealis then heads it straight to Guzan, and oh, by the way, to finish my point, again, besides that one good moment that he had against Columbus, scoring the winning goal, he has not lived up to the expectation that the Red Bulls were hoping he was going to be, maybe the replacement of that number 9 that they've been dearly been missing ever since BWP left this team. But again, the Red Bulls were once again pressing to try to get the equalizer, and Atlanta was happy to absorb pressure. Well, I wouldn't say happy. I mean, it was kind of like they were holding on for a bit. Burke would curl one just wide from close range before Rossetto would miss a sitter from close range. Yeah, that's one that Mateus Rossetto would want to have back. In fact, Rossetto was kind of snake bitten a little bit in this one, as I'll mention in just a bit. Speaking of sitter, Giacomakis also missed a sitter from close range, and I immediately wrote, will these missed chances come back to haunt Atlanta? Because, to keep this one at 1-0, and with the chances that Atlanta missed, and knowing the fact that the Red Bulls has the ability to create chances, you just feel like Atlanta was maybe gonna blow it late in this one. Amaya would fire one just high from close range before Araujo tried to finish this one off, but he hits one right to Cornell, and then Cornell would absolutely rob Rossetto from close range in the 7 minute of stoppage time with an incredible save. But it didn't matter in the end because Atlanta was able to win 1-0 in this one, and the shots in this one, the Red Bulls actually had about twice as much shot as Atlanta has. 15 shots compared to 8 that Atlanta has, but the shots on goal basically tells the story. 4 shots on goal compared to just 2 that the Red Bulls had. Yeah, when you only have 2 shots on goal out of 15, that's just a story of a team that was pretty bad in terms of their finishing and, was just shooting everywhere. Like, you can shoot everywhere and put on a shooting gallery, but if it's not on target, that's why maybe they didn't score a goal in this one. In fact, they had 12 shots off target in this one compared to 3 that Atlanta has. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And for Atlanta, like I said, great bounce back win to get themselves 3 points in this one. But for the Red Bulls, a very frustrating performance. I mean, I thought they played well in this game on the road, but we've seen this happen before where they have played well on the road and they look like the better team, but they just walk away with nothing coming out of this game. But that being said, moving on in the next match is Cincinnati versus Inter Miami. So the thing about Cincinnati this season is that despite the fact that I think they're now at the top of the Eastern Conference, they haven't really played as well as what we saw from last season. I mean, last season we saw how entertaining Pat Nolan team is, but this season it's been kind of just kind of grinding out resort, which again that's fine. I mean, as much as I know Cincinnati fans want to see their team just play with some beautiful soccer like they did last season and hope that that front three can be firing on all cylinder, which has not been the case so far this season. Uh, it's okay to win that way, and it also just kind of shows the caliber that Cincinnati has, where this could be a team that could go deep in the playoffs, even when they're still winning games, despite the fact that they're not playing well. Now, early on, if you missed the first 10 minutes of this game, you're perfectly fine because not much happened in the opening 10 minutes in this one. The first shot of the game did came in the 13th minute as Brenner would hit one right to counter as the shots were only 1-0 through 15 minutes in this one. The first shot for Miami did came in the 20th minute when Stefanelli would hit one right to Salatano. Costa Dam hits one right to counter. I mean, again, both goalkeepers, they were a little bit busy in terms of making easy save and kind of stacking up the save total, but again, none of those chances were threatening whatsoever. Martinez would then hit it high from close range before Brenner on the other end had a shot that was tipped over by Calendar, and again, chances were starting to come for both of these teams that was chasing for the opening goal, but as I said, most of the chances were kind of half chances at best. Then in the 38th minute, it looked like there was a penalty that was given to Miami after Pizarro was brought down by Angulo. But they go to VAR to see whether or not if Angulo actually fouled Pizarro outside the box, and he did. Yeah, I think that in the end is the right call. So no penalty for Miami. This one turns out to be big because in the 5th minute stoppage time, just as we thought we were heading to halftime scoreless, Mosquera would score here from Barrial to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead, and it was a bowling header in the near post coming off of that cross. Like that was just one that Calendar has absolutely no chance in terms of saving it. And yeah, Cincinnati, perfect time to score the opening goal right on the stroke of halftime, and they head to that one with a 1-0 lead. Now in the second half, they will continue to be on the front foot, but again, not much chances were kind of creating to speak of coming out of the break. Though in the 65th minute, this was probably the closest that Miami came to score as Negri, which struck the post from long range. Again, this is a Miami team. They know how to score long range effort, and that so far this season they have had their fair share of long range goal, but they also have some that came really close in terms of putting it into back net, and this was the case for Negri. Before Martinez would hit one right to Saotano again. Joseph Martinez continued to be snake bitten for Inter Miami. Still looking for his first goal for Inter Miami, and I've said this last week, and I'm going to say again. I think that 100th goal is starting to get into his head, and it's frustrating the fact that he really want that elusive 100th career goal in MLS, but sometimes maybe that's started to kind of get into his head with the way that he's just continued to stuck at 99 and maybe are trying too hard in terms of getting it. But Malta would head it wide from close range as Miami was starting to create some chances, and you can start to see there was some nervous energy inside TQL Stadium because they have seen this before from Cincinnati. I mean, not as much as what we seen under Pat Nolan, but it's still there where they have blow a lead late in the game. Vasquez then had a free header that missed wide. Speaking of a guy that seems to be a little bit snake bitten, that's kind of the case for Brendan Vasquez this season. I mean, I know he finally broke the duck in the last game, but yeah, that's one that Vasquez absolutely should bury it. If this was a guy that was in form, I think he would have buried that one. Lassiter would then hits one right to Sautano, for in the fourth minute of stoppage time. I mean, Dombaji, yeah, he would love to have this one back. I mean, the only good thing about this is that it happened literally a couple of seconds before the final whistle was blown. But yeah, Dombaji, he absolutely need to finish this one from 4 yards out. Like from 4 yards out, he just missed that one high. I mean, that is a classic example of it's harder to miss in that chances and actually scoring it. But like I said, it doesn't come back to haunt Cincinnati with that missed opportunity, as in the end they win 1-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 10 that Miami has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that Miami has. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, or 4 shots off target, 3 shots that was blocked for both of these teams. And possession wise, Miami actually had the better possession, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. But overall, for Cincinnati, even though it hasn't been pretty, they're still getting wins and getting points, and that's what it all matters for Pat Nolan team. I mean, again, this is a team that I expect to finish near the top of the standings, and they're currently are in the top of the standings. But for Miami, this free fall continue. I mean, again, in this game, they have came close a couple of time to get themselves the equalizer, but when you're on a losing streak, you're just not going to get that luck, and that's kind of the case for Miami in this one. Speaking of a team that is not getting any luck, that would be RSL. So coming into this game, we knew that RSL was going to be in trouble because of the way that, yeah, for a team that is also struggling, Columbus is probably the last team that they want to face to trying to turn around their fortune, because Columbus, I said this season they've been very good at home, and it turns out they decided to do another thrashing in this one. I mean, after putting a 6-1 thrashing on Atlanta, they fall with a 4-0 thrashing of RSL. And early on, Ramirez, who scored 2 goals in this one, he was definitely feeling it in the last game. He tried to score another here as he had a free header there that goes straight to Beavers. By the way, McMath was not in goal in this one. I'm not quite sure why that is the case, but the young 17-year-old goalkeeper Gavin Beaver was in this, and I do feel bad for him because yeah, that's a tough moment for a 17-year-old goalkeeper. And again, this is also another reason why I said for RSL, it looked like they were going to be doomed from the beginning with the lineup that they put in. It was kind of almost a makeshift back line, and it looked like they were going to be absolutely stomped by Columbus in this one. And it kind of did, because it all started in the 14th minute when Aiden Morris, a guy that again seems like he's feeling it after scoring his first career MLS goal, as he scored here from Zarian and Maria, but this was all Lucas Arian. I mean, again, he's one of the reasons why he's one of the best number 10 in the league. Just an absolute filthy backheel assist there to play David Morris, and he puts it in to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Though Chan did try to respond for RSL, but he is denied by Schulte. Again, both starting goalkeeper was not in this game. Although I think Eloy Roma, he's still trying to get back from this crew team on international duty. Paul then hits one right to Shute, and after a slow start, RSL they were starting to create some chances to try to get the equalizer. But that all changed in the 39th minute when a penalty was given to Columbus after Zarian was brought down by Ruiz in the box. Zarian won the penalty. Zarian would score on the penalty, as he scored in the 41st minute from the spot to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus, and that would be the scoreline heading into halftime. It wouldn't take long to make it 3-0 in favor of Columbus, as in the 53rd minute, again, Aiden Morris, he is feeling it. He scored another one in this one to make it 3-0 in favor of Columbus, but yeah, this is a tough moment for Gavin Beaver, and again, I do feel bad for him, because this is a rough spot for him to come in against a red-hot team, and that let's just hope that this moment won't actually shatter his confidence, or this game itself shatter his confidence too, because he just spilled this one right into the path of Aiden Morris. And yeah, Columbus were leading 3-0 in this one. And again, this won't be the last time we talk about goalkeeping howlers. this week. There was a lot of goalkeeping mistakes this week, at least on this board too, and at least in the next game that I'm going to talk about. But that being said, Schulte did deny Julio from close range, and again, I said to RSL credit, they haven't gave up. You know, even though they're 3-0 down, they were trying to maybe get one back and see how it goes. Though in the 87th minute, Farsi did shoot one that is crucially brought by Brody, but in third minute of stoppage time, Columbus would make it 4-0 and add the cherry on the top. It's Yoboa. He scored from Arson and Russell Rowe to make it 4-0 in favor of Columbus, and that would be the final score in this game as the crew, the shots that in this game, 18 shots for the 8 that RSL had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that RSL had, 7 shots off target for the 1 that RSL has, 5 shots on the block for the 2 that RSL has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to the 41% possession that RSL has in this game. And the funny thing is, this game actually turns out to not be the most dominant game that we've seen from this week, because as I talked about in part 2 of the review, and I think this might be the last game I'm going to talk about, we also saw one game that was probably the most one-sided game that we've seen this season. But yeah, in this one, like I said, it was pretty much not surprised that Columbus gets the win. And for RSL, yeah, I mean, it's been just a brutal start to the season, and the fans are starting to be very upset about it. I mean, I'm hearing definitely there's some chatters of them wanting Pablo Mastrani to be out, and especially their front office to be changed, because yeah, all those good things that the front office promised them, yeah, it just have not come to fruition for RSL this season. Speaking of a team that also are angry at their front office, and especially the president, is the Galaxy and the Seattle Sounders. So again, you know, Galaxy fans once again decided to boycott. There was no supporter group in this game as the client out kind of protest continue into this one. And I wonder, has it maybe started to take an effect on the pitch? I mean, we saw this last year with the Portland Timbers, where the way that there was so much scandal off the pitch, and it started to kind of become a distraction to a point where the I think the players maybe are starting not paying attention in terms of what happened on the pitch. I mean, it's hard to believe that the story of last year for the Timbers wasn't really because of missing the playoffs, but more like what's going on behind the scenes. And maybe that's kind of the same case for the Galaxy, because again, it's been a slow start for them this season, that and coming into this game against Seattle, desperately trying to get a win, and they don't get it. In the first half, Rodon would fires it high from long range before Joveljic would puts it wide from close range. Fry then denied Boy and Puig as the offside flag came up in the 18th minute. As I thought both of these teams was getting some early chances in this one, but Seattle would get the opening goal. It's Jordan Morris scoring from Chu and Ladero to make it 1-0 in favor of Seattle. That was vintage Sounder soccer. Like, that was just a beautiful build up there. And of course, it has to be Jordan Morris that gets on the end of this goal. I mean, that's his 8th goal of the season. It's safe to say that Jordan Morris, he has definitely taken it very personal, the fact that he was not included in the U.S. men's national team roster during this international break and in the Nation League. But in the 34th minute, Seattle would make it 2-0, and Leo Chu saw how Morris was able to score a goal, and he thought, hey, why don't I get on the goal scoring sheet? So he did here, as he scored here from Ladero to make it 2-0 in favor of the Sounders. But yeah, this is one that Kinsman, again, he should have done better in this one. Completely caught flat-footed there, and yeah, that gives the Sounders a 2-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Fry did deny Judd in the front post, as I thought they were pressing early to get one back, and they do. In the 63rd minute, it's Neil getting his first goal for the Galaxy to make it 2-1 in favor of the Sounders. And again, this is another bad moment for the goalkeeper. And I would also say that this is kind of your Stephen Fry annual howler. I mean, we see this every single season where Stephen Fry has to make one howler every single season for the Sounders. And there it is. I mean, at least I think if you're a Sounders fan, the only good thing coming out of that is that it happened early in the season, because, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of Sounders fans will be very nervous as the season goes along that Stephen Fry hasn't made a howler that, yeah, you know, eventually it's going to happen. And it did happen in this one, where he spilled a simple catch that he clearly should have got it. And he basically put this one right in the goal mouth, which Neil was able to capitalize on that. And yeah, the Galaxy pulled within one here, though Ruidíaz tried to rescore that 2-goal lead. But he hits one right to Kinsman. Puig then hits the wall there, but the ball was recycled, and Caligari actually hits it right to Fry from long range there. The game was starting to come alive. Again, there was some fast-paced action from both sides. It was getting very open up, which again, if you're the Seattle Sounders, that is definitely not the game that you want to play, especially when you're the road team. Delgado then fires one over the bar before Ladero would put it wide from close range, and as the time winds down, I feel like the Sounders were holding on for dear life. Like the Galaxy was really throwing the kitchen sink to get the equalizer. And then we get to the controversy. And this is the moment where it really made Greg Vanny go absolutely nuts in the post-game press conference. So there was a huge shout for a penalty, as the Galaxy feel like knew who handball this one. Now, I feel like this moment was very similar to the Dejan Joveljic handball goal that was chopped off against Vancouver, where it was really tough to tell. I think it would have been tough for them to overrule it, even if they go to VAR, and I feel like that's the same thing. But I think the other argument about this of why maybe this probably was the right call in the end is the fact that Nuhu basically had his hands behind his back, and yes, I know his elbow was kind of extended a little bit, but I've seen that before. And if you're gonna call that as a handball, we're gonna see a lot of penalty that is gonna be given, and the players are gonna be absolutely fuming about the fact that, well, I put my hand behind my back when I defend, and it doesn't really matter because in the end it's still gonna hit my hand, and it's gonna call it a penalty. So yeah, nevertheless, there was no penalty that was given, and then Perez would blast it right to Fry. As in the end, the Sounders, in a bit of a controversial way, were able to win 2-1 on the road, and the shots in this one, 28 shots compared to just 9 that the Sounders had. Yeah, it's safe to say that the Galaxy really pushed for that equalizer. And again, this has just been also the sum of the season. Like them along with Sporting KC has been probably the most snake bitten team this season in front of goal, where they've been creating the chances, but they're just not putting it away. 8 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Sounders had, 9 shots off target compared to 2 that the Sounders had, 11 shots on his block compared to the 4 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to the 38% possession that the Sounders has. And again, Greg Vanny, he absolutely sound off in the post-game press conference. He was absolutely fuming about the handball call that should have been a penalty for the Galaxy. And honestly, in some way, I kind of do like the fact that I see head coach kind of go absolutely nuts in the press conference. I mean, I've seen that happen in the NFL, and it's kind of entertaining to watch, and some are even some very memorable moment too. So yeah, to see it in MLS and see head coach goes absolutely nuts in the post game press conference, yeah, that's definitely gonna create some meme kind of materials, at least for the MLS Reddit page. But that being said, Greg Vanny, I think he's definitely gonna get a call from Disco, or at least get a letter from Disco that the fact that he's probably gonna get fined because of it, and that in the end, I mean, I know, yes, the Galaxy, they maybe will be feel like they got hard done because of it. I really think the story of this game is just they weren't clinical in terms of their finishing, and again, that's just been the season for this team this year. They play well in most of the games that they play this season, but because of the lack of finishing, and the fact that they desperately need Chicharito back in this team, is the reason why they're still stuck with no wins this season. But for the Sounders, it was a good road performance. In fact, I would say it was a great road game that the Sounders play in this one, and they walk away with 3 points. And I believe, if not, I'm not mistaken, they're close in terms of being back at the top of the Western Conference. In fact, as I'm speaking, I think they're back at the top of the Western Conference. With that being said, I am now going to switch sports and look at the last 4 games to wrap up part 1 of the review of match week number 6. So moving on, in the next game, we got New England versus NYCFC. So the Revs look to continue to have a strong start at home this season, and they don't get that as they drop points in this one against NYCFC. Though early on, it was actually NYCFC that had the opportunity early, with Illich putting it high from long range, as that was the first shot of the game. The first shot of the game for the Revs did came in the 18th minute, when Bo hits one right to Barraza. Bo then fires it high on the free kick in the 29th minute, but that was pretty much all the action we've seen in the remaining of the first half. I mean, there was really not much that happened in the first half of this game. In the second half, Kerfoot would drill one that goes right to Petrovic before Barraza would deny Hio as he pushed that one onto the post. Magno then goes wide from close range. As I thought the game finally started to open up. I mean, after it was kind of tightly contested, it started to open up in the second half with both of these teams chasing for the opening goal. And we thought we had it in the 61st minute when New England puts it into the back of the net, but there was no goal that was called because VAR deemed that ball was in an offside position when the cross was coming into the box. And there was kind of some confusion with this because I don't think the referee actually acknowledged the fact that the goal, of course, was waved off. So that kind of confused a lot of people inside the stadium, and it definitely confused the score bug too because the score bug was basically saying that it's still 1-0 in favor of New England, and VAR is still checking, and it only took a couple of minutes until they finally changed it and said it's a nil score line. But that being said, it wouldn't matter because just 10 minutes after that confusing VAR kind of moment, we did see the opening goal, and New England did get the 1-0 lead as Carlos Hill would score from Bobby Wood to make it 1-0 in favor of New England. Bo then went in on goal and tried to double that lead, but he missed that one wide. I mean, for Gustavo Bo, he has to bury that one. And again, the bad finishing for New England in this one, it kind of come back to haunt them in this one. But in the 75th minute, Petrovic did rob Martins on a point blank effort. But in the 88th minute, he couldn't do anything in terms of saving this one as Magno just put an absolute bullet header from Pereira there from the corner to tie the game up at one apiece. As the time winds down, both of these teams was chasing to get that elusive winning goal to get the 3 points, but it doesn't happen. As in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 12 that New England has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal. 4 shots off target for the 6 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 5 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that New England has in this game. So, yeah, in a game where I mentioned before, the Revs have a chance to get a big win. And I wouldn't say it's a statement win because, NYCFC hasn't been getting off to a good start, but definitely one that, continued the case that they are going to be one of the top team in the Eastern Conference. They don't do so, and they drop points in this one, and also are no longer at the top of the Eastern Conference. But for NYCFC, they'll be frustrated that they left some of those chances missing in this game too. But anytime when you're able to go on the road to get a point, especially at a place like Gillette Stadium, I think NYCFC will be happy with this result. But that being said, moving on in the next one, we got Orlando and Nashville, and there has to be concern for Orlando City fans after this resort because I've talked about in the season preview where it feels like this season looked very similar to last season, where the inconsistency has really killed this team. Where there's times where they look good in one game, especially on the road, and then they go back home and they just play a flat game, and that was kind of the case in this one against Nashville. Though, credit Nashville, they desperately needed this win after things started to kind of take it a little bit down south with the good start that they have. But for Gary Smith team, they got a huge 3 points in this one. Though early on in the second minute, Galese would deny Lovitz, but the rebound fall kindly to Pico, but he struck the post as the offside flag went up, so that wouldn't have counted if that one went in. And by the way, clearing their lines would be a problem for Orlando City in this one, at least early on. But in the 17th minute, Willis did deny Angulo from close range before Ojeda would put it just high over the wall, as I thought Orlando was starting to create chances for the opening goal. But instead, it's Nashville that gets the opening goal. It's Fafa Pico. I think this is his first goal for Nashville this this season. He scored here from Mukhtar to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville, and Orlando just kind of got completely switched off from this quick restart off the free kick. I mean, that was great heads-up play there from Hani Mukhtar. Completely caught Orlando sleeping there. Like, they were still kind of complaining about the foul, and next thing you know, Mukhtar plays it to Pico. He went in on goal, and he scored there to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. But in the 44th minute, it could have been 2-0 if it wasn't for Galese robbing Mukhtar as he was in on goal. But the ball did recycle right to Saban, who tried to chip Galese, who was already off his lines after he made that save. But somehow that one was clear off the line. So again, Nashville came in very close in terms of getting that second goal. But just another example of that Orlando back line not clearing their lines after their goalkeeper make a save. I mean, Pedro Galese must be absolutely fuming after in that first half with how his defense just kind of stood there, ball watching, not clearing their lines and allowing second opportunity for Nashville to score. Though that being said, in the second minute of stoppage time, Sapon did curls it high from close range, but we do head to halftime with Nashville with a 1-0 lead. Now in the second half, Mukhtar did hit one into the side netting on the free kick. This was the Hani Mukhtar show. I mean, I know he ends up only getting one goal in this one, but this game just kind of proved why he won MVP last season in the league. Once again, it was a positive start for Nashville, looking for the second goal. Angulo would hit one right to Villas before Pico fought. He scored the second goal for Nashville, but the goal was disallowed for offside. And then Facu Torres would put it wide from close range, and then Enrique would hit one that was almost spilled by Willis, but he was able to cover it. So again, another moment where we saw a goalkeeper almost made a mistake, spilling a ball in the dangerous area. But fortunately for Joe Willis, he was able to cover it. But Orlando finally started to get some traction. They finally started to create some chances, and was looking to get the equalizer. But it doesn't happen because in the 75th minute, Hani Mukhtar would score. He scored here from Moore and McCarty to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville, and you just think that that pretty much is it for Orlando City. Like, Nashville is not going to blow a 2-0 lead in the final 15 minutes. Though Orlando did try to push late to get one back. First, Willis denied Ojeda in the 85th minute before he denied McGuire on the header. Mukhtar then just missed wide on the volley as he was looking for his second goal of the game. But in the end, Nashville walk away with a 2-0 win against Orlando. Shots in this one, 18 shots for the 7 that Nashville has. 3 shots on goal for the 6 that Orlando City had. 6 shots that was off target for the 3 that Nashville has. 6 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, Orlando does have the more of the possession, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Nashville has in this game. But despite the fact that the stats were heavily favored in Orlando City, I think when you look at this game, Nashville was the better side, and that, yeah, overall big win for Gary Smith team to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit after them losing their last 2 games. But for Orlando City, again, the inconsistency is back for this team, and right now, again, the big concern about this season is that they spend money to try to fix that problem, and it doesn't seem like it's been fixed at all when you look at the start of the season that Orlando City has had. Yeah, moving on, in the next match, we got the Philly Union versus Sporting KC. So we finally saw the first game of the season where it was delayed by weather. So basically, this game was starting much later than all the game that I've talked about so far, and also the one that I talk about in the next one, which is why I probably should have put this game last because of the way that all the games I've talked about in part one started at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. But this was the exception because the kickoff was delayed because of lightning. It was pushed back an hour. The kickoff didn't start until 8:40 p.m. local time. But I also want to say that apparently it seems like the commentator forgot that the game was back on because they decided to check out before the game restarted. There was no commentary whatsoever, at least for the first 30 minutes of this game. And in some way, I kind of enjoyed it because, not hearing the commentary sometimes could be a good thing. Just hearing the game and the crowd, and especially with the way that Apple TV, at least for the most part, has done a good job in terms of the audio sound of the crowd. I almost feel like I was actually there watching this game without the commentator. But that being said, in the second minute, Rosario did puts it wide on an overhead kick before Tommy puts one straight to Blake in the 11th minute. As once again, it was a strong start for Sporting KC, but as it is the problem for this team. They just could not finish, and or at least at this point, I thought that maybe they were looking for an early goal, just like they did in the last 2 games. Zuzi then fires it high from long range before Rosario would hits one right to Blake. Shots once again heavily in favor of Sporting KC, but like I said, the story of this season, it's the lack of finishing, and it showed up in this game whatsoever. I mean, imagine if Sporting KC could actually finish. They should not be looking for their first win of the season if they don't have the problem in terms of scoring and putting the ball in the back of the net with those clinical finishing. But we do head to halftime scoreless heading into the second half, and in the second half, Amelia would deny Uru as he was in on goal there. Again, it was not a great first half for the Union. I wonder whether that weather delay kind of throw their rhythms off a little bit, but they kind of did show up in the second half. Real would head it one right to Milia as for the first time tonight, Union finally getting some sustained pressure, kind of started to look like their old self. Though as soon as I said that, Johnny Russell would hit one right to Blake. Johnny Russell making his first appearing coming off the bench for Sporting KC, and that's got to be great news because they desperately miss him alongside with Polito with this team. Zusi then also hits one right to Blake in the 69th minute before Melia would deny Gasta from long range. And speaking of a player that is making his first start, Tim Melia, making his first start for Sporting KC, coming back from injury. But in the 84th minute, there was a scramble in the Sporting KC box, which ended with Bedoya have a bicycle kick attempt that missed wide. So yeah, that was kind of epic to say the fact that there was a scramble in the box, but it kind of recycled to a point where Bedoya was trying to go for the bike, trying to do a Jimmy Chara that we saw from last season, but didn't quite work out there. I mean, if that one went in, it would have been instantly the goal of the week. But there was no doubt the Union was pressing late to get the winner. They don't get it, as it ends scoreless in this one. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 13 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 8 shots off target compared to 5 that Sporting KC had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And again, I don't think neither of these teams is going to be satisfied with the result. I mean, for the Union, again, I know you can use the excuse of the focusing on CCL is the reason for the slow start, but like I said before, we've seen this before with other teams, and that it'll be very interesting to see that when the Union is done with CCL, can they recover themselves and bounce back after the slow start? Because if they can, they just fall into the victim them or follow a classic or not classic, but just another team that we've seen where CCL just kind of bite the dust of other team going deep in the competition, and they just never able to recover mentally. And it's going to be very interesting to see with this Union team as the season goes along, especially once they're done with the CONCACAF Champions League. But for Sporting KC, like I said, this is the same game, same story. Just couldn't finish. They could have finished. They could have stole all 3 points coming out of this one. With that being said, moving into the next game, we got Toronto FC versus Charlotte FC. So for TFC, they remain only losing one game after their this one, and remain their unbeaten streak to now at 5 games. But when you look at the result that they had in these 5 games, it's not been very impressive. I mean, I think they drew 4 times during those 5 game stretch, and this was another game where it looked like they were gonna win this one, and then yeah, the second half happened. I mean, you could maybe say that this was kind of a tale of 2 halves with TFC playing well in the first half, but that was a different story heading into the second. Though early on, Charlotte did have the early opportunity as Vargas would puts it wide from close range, but then in the 6th minute, Toronto would get the opening goal. It's Benedeschi scoring here to make it 1-0 in favor of TFC, and that probably is going to be the goal of the week because it was an Olympico goal. I mean, I had a feeling eventually we were going to see Olympico goal because I've seen before where, really for this last year or two, I've seen a lot of players have tried to attempt the Olympico, and that it feel like eventually we are going to see one, and we did in this one. Though you could say that it kind of did get helped by the win there in on Lake Ontario, because that ball really took a wicked curve into the back and then completely caught George Marks by surprise. But nevertheless, it's a rare moment to see it, and a moment that again it's going to be instantly a goal of the weekend, and probably going to win the goal of the week because we haven't seen an Olympico goal, I think, probably since a couple of years ago. I know Medunian scored an Olympico goal in a game against the Red Bulls when he was with Cincinnati, but other than that, I think there was also one game, I forgot what the team was playing, where someone also scored an Olympico goal. But either way, it doesn't happen often, and when it does happen, it's definitely a special goal to see. But in the 8th minute, Nuno Santos did win through on goal, but he missed wide from close after just a terrible turnover from TFC. And then Santos would head it straight to Johnson, as again, Charlotte, they responded did well after going down early, but TFC, against that defense, it was shaky at best. I mean, those bad turnover that they were giving away, they were asking of potentially giving up that 1-0 lead that they were able to get in this one. Capetti then flicked it wide from close range before Bradley with fires said that was actually tipped over by George Marks. Then Marks would deny Benedeschi, but he did kind of allow a juicy rebound that fall right to Aquino, who is also denied by Marks. So that was a great save there from George Marks. I thought he played a good game in this one, and in general, I think he might have locked himself down the starting spot for the Charlotte team because he looked very decent in these last couple of games. But there was no doubt that the momentum was swinging right back to TFC as they were pushing for that second goal. And they do get it. In the 44th minute, it's Michael Bradley scoring for Cervania to make it 2-0 in favor of TFC. So, yeah, that would be the scoreline heading into the second half, but we would not stay 2-0 long in the second half. In fact, in the 51st minute, Charlotte gets one back. It's Ben Bender scoring for Josviak to make it 2-1 in favor of TFC. This probably arguably is one of the best games that Kamil Josviak has played in a Charlotte FC jersey. Melinda then hits it wide from the corner, and again, it's a strong start for Charlotte. The momentum was kind of swinging right back to them. Remember how I said earlier this was a tale of two halves? I think I should maybe correct myself to say this was kind of a momentum swing game. The momentum seems to swing a couple of times in favor of both of these teams at some spells. Jones with fires at wide from long range in the 63rd minute, but then in the 73rd minute, Charlotte equalized. It's Josviak scoring from Vargas and Afo. I think that's only the second goal that Kamil Josviak has scored for Charlotte. I mean, last season it was a tough season for him, but he did I think he did score a goal last season, and I think this one might have been his second one. But yeah, that ties the game up at 2 apiece. Benedeski was looking to restore that lead for Toronto. In fact, he was in on goal, but his shot was blocked away at a crucial moment. And yeah, in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. Shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that TFC had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that TFC had, 1 shot that was off target for the 7 that Charlotte has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And again, overall, yes, TFC remain unbeaten through 5 games, but blowing multiple goal lead at home is never going to be a fun thing to do. And I know Charlotte eventually did look like they were going to get themselves back into this game and get themselves the equalizer with the chances that they were having. But again, for TFC, the only good thing is that at least with all these draws that they have, they're able to pick up points. But again, draws is not going to get you far. Well, draws will kind of get you far, at least maybe get you sneak into a playoff contention, but I still think it's not going to be enough if this team is going to looking to be a playoff team. And again, that's just the bare minimum for this team. If this team does not make it to the playoffs, I think there could be some big changes that you could see heading into next season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of all 8 of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 8 games as part of part number 1 of this review. And again, I'm gonna be uploading this review right now, and then I'll basically quickly erase the board because I'm gonna talk about the other 6 games in just a bit. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.